Chris. It's so nice to see you today. I'm so excited to be able to offer this interview. Leslie and I are navigating using Zoom for these interviews. We're so excited to be learning this so we can reach more people. Hi, Leslie.
Hi.
Thanks for joining me today. We are in Redding, California. Leslie's from Redding, and I'm down in Brownwood, Texas. Shout out from Texas. A lot of our listeners are in Colorado, but from other places too that have all been involved with our Ministry of Beautiful Smart Ladies Summit. And we just all welcome you. I know a lot of you will be seeing this on the recording. And so I just wanted to start these summit talks with some of the leaders that you've been used to seeing at our summits when we actually can gather around and touch each other and be together and live together for a weekend. And so we wanted to start preparing some of these talks for you, just to encourage you in this time, to give you some resources, maybe some strategic ideas, or provide some divine appointments for you, or just share what we feel like God is saying to us in this time and saying to you. And so my first guest this week is Leslie Taylor. Leslie, Rick and I met Leslie at Pastor on Call Ministry at Bethel Church. Rick and I served in that ministry for 2 years while we were students at BSSM, and got to know Leslie very well. She's one of our very dearest friends. She's been involved in almost every one of our summits, and we've just welcomed her. She's been a speaker. She's been helped me with administratively. She's just been my companion as far as praying for us, and so I've just so appreciated her involvement, her friendship, just who she is as a person. Leslie is, and Leslie, you can add to this because I'll try to remember everything that you've done. Leslie's a mother and a grandma, a daughter and a sister. She has lived in Oklahoma and Colorado and Texas too, maybe?
Yeah, Texas too.
Right. And she's served as a police officer, a marriage and family therapist. She works with Bethel's global response team as a trainer for the human part of that, how to deal with humanity, how to help people in crisis. And she's a businesswoman, has started businesses, is starting another business, and has a great heart to help people find their own financial freedom. So all of the above are what she does, and more about who she is. She's just full of compassion and love for people. So welcome, Leslie. Thanks so much for doing this with me.
Thank you, Chris. It's an honor. Thanks for asking me.
Did I remember everything? The health, you're a certified health coach too. So when you get to be up around our age, I'm older than you, but you've done a lot of things in life. And I think some of the most interesting people have done a lot of things that didn't really maybe stay in the same thing. So we learn a lot because we keep changing and we keep making mistakes, right? And then we learn from our mistakes and we move forward. So we all have encountered things like that, haven't we, in our lives? And we learn from them. Those are part of what makes us powerful and gives us street smarts, wisdom, skills to be able to help others. So I know that Leslie is really going to bless you today. So Leslie, do you want to add anything to what I just said?
No, in fact, I was going to joke that when you were talking about who I am, my mind wandered off for a moment, so I don't even know what you said about me. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible about doing that, but I guess, I don't know. You're talking about me. My mind just went somewhere else.
That's okay.
Yeah, I did get your grace-filled interpretation of all that. Thank you. I get teased by people who've been in the same career, their whole life. But yeah, I tell people, it's all been crisis care. Every bit of it has been crisis care. And I was doing that before I ever did it as an occupation. It just kind of navigating through my own crisis of my own life. And I think people felt like watching my life and all that was happening, that I was probably a safe person to come and share what they were struggling with. And so my life just kind of started out in that way. And I actually really felt like I needed training and education. And that's kind of what started me on this path of training that put me in these different careers. And different life events happened that I have to say, every time I went into one career, I thought it was my career for life. I thought that was my thing. And if you are following, and some people it is, and I have to say I'm totally jealous. I'm completely jealous. Wish I had 25 years invested in one occupation. But I felt like God's just kind of redirected me at different times and wanted me to collect experiences. And so that's where I am. And yeah, here I sit, a collector of a lot of experiences and training. So thank you. You worded that very gracefully. I appreciate it.
You're just a fascinating person because of it all. So, well, I have a few questions here, Leslie. Considering the climate of today with the pandemic and the crisis, the justice crisis, the race crisis, what do you sense God is saying to you and to us?
You know, that's just a huge, huge question, because I think we all were in, we were in one reality when the pandemic hit. And for many people, their world dramatically changed. Some people didn't change that much. And then now this latest piece has kind of shifted us into a new place, and with the race issues. And one of the things I feel like God's been talking to me about is that all the other issues that were going on in our world didn't go away. They didn't go away. And some of those are horrendous issues, you know, war and persecution and displacement, sex trafficking. I mean, there's just horrendous
Not to
things
mention
of concern.
the natural disasters that continue too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's exactly right. And our disaster team is now shifting back to, you know, natural disasters. Of course, we're entering fire season and hopeful about that. But I'm one of those people who feels a lot of things, and it can be very overwhelming. And I think that sometimes when someone is a feeler, they have to be a little more cautious about where they put themselves and place themselves, because you have to have good boundaries, or you just literally will be overwhelmed. And I have to say, I only learned that really pretty recently. I thought I was a person who felt a lot of things that were my own feelings, and God started revealing to me, no, actually just a sliver of what you feel is your feelings. You're feeling what everybody else is feeling. And I'm not someone that walks in a room and goes, oh, you know, this is the feeling in the room like some people do. It's more a global thing for me. And man, there's so much anger right now. It's really, it really can be overwhelming to feel all the anger that's in the atmosphere right now. But if I am feeling this morning, I think the biggest message that he's put on my heart for this season for people is kind of two things. One is there is a lot, we experience it a lot in the world of politics, especially on social media. We experience it with pandemic, in whether you should wear a mask or not, go out or not. And now with the race issues that have come up, and there is so many people shooting on so many other people, and so many people at such a heightened level of emotion screaming at other people to be and do what they feel like is the right thing to do. And of course, I think all of us on some level of humanity, and especially with Jesus' heart, have those guidelines of what we feel like is right and wrong. But when it comes to what we're supposed to do with our life in regard to any of these different things, I really feel like the message is we have to listen to God. Not listening to our neighbor, not listening to anybody who's telling us what we should be doing. We should be listening to one person. If you have mentors and guides in your life, then certainly they're there to guide you as well. But I think it's really a season, and it has been for quite a long time, to really look to the Lord and say, what is my place? There's going to be young mothers whose entire role right now is being at home with their children and being in the best space they can possibly be with the most patience and guiding their kids. People who are, all the different facets of society. Let's go back to the pandemic. People who are out of a job and all of a sudden their income stopped, even those people are divided in that some qualify for unemployment, so they get some check, and then some people with small business and stuff that didn't are zero. Then you have people who are working, life is kind of normal, not much different. Both of my sons and my daughter-in-law too, they're all first responder type jobs. And for my sons in particular, their world's been pretty much the same. They just have to wear a mask everywhere they go. And some people are going to be called to be frontline in creating change and speaking out. And other people are going to be called to be intercessors. And some people are going to be, let's just use sex trade, because that's another just horrific thing. Some people are going to be called to, hey, you keep your nose going that direction and effecting that change. And the big thing I've noticed is that the one thing that's really burning in some people's heart, they feel like should be burning in everyone's heart. And I'm not going to say that's a right or a wrong, a black or a white, because hardly anything is. But each one of us has to, before God, look at and ask and find peace in what are you calling me to do, and not let someone else define that. And then the second piece that I feel like God's laid on my heart is unity, is not judging people who are in other places deciding and doing other things. Even when I was in law enforcement, or even when I was a marriage and family therapist, it's real easy for us to look at one party as the bad guy. But if I've learned anything, it's almost always underneath those behaviors is a reason. Someone's experience in what they grew up with, what they were taught. I don't pretend to have it all sorted out as to where just pure evil is. And because I have a great amount of understanding and grace and for people who are making stupid, terrible, horrible choices. I do feel like they have to have boundaries, and I do feel like they have to have consequences. But I do feel like that one of the things God is calling us to, for all of us, is to not get into a judgmental, critical, not to should on other people, but to really pray for and seek those common places of unity. So that would be my two big things. I feel like I'm hearing, seeing, walking in myself right now.
That's really good. I also felt like, I was on a walk the other night, and I felt like I was just talking to God, and he was saying, Chris, you're listening to a lot of voices right now, and you can go so many different ways, and it's all over. It's on the news. It's all over the internet. You're taking different classes. You're doing all these things to try to improve, all these things. And it was just like he was saying, that's all good, but what I really want is you just to sit with me and listen to me.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
That's so good. All the things that we love, a lot of what we do is really good. And, we are emotional, and we do take a side, and we're trying to do what's right. I think everyone is really sincerely trying to do what's right. I think there's a lot of deception out there. And so, you just see where you're tuning in and stuff. But I think, again, just to really just sit with God and listen to him. And,
I got exposed to a thought a few years ago, and I pretty much embrace it. I won't say it's 100% true, but I think it's mostly true. And I still am walking it out to see what I think. But it was the idea that everybody does the best they can.
Yeah.
And, in my own life, I will dump on myself, get on myself thinking you could have done better than that. You could have done better than that. But if I actually pull it apart and look at it, there's reasons why that was the level of involvement I gave at that time. And there's always reasons for why. Do we always do 100% in everything? No, but there's reasons why we back off in the different areas we do. And I really do believe that somewhere in there, that is a real truth, that everyone is operating at the best they can. No, when I was a police officer, like one of the things I realized is nobody chooses to spend their life in jail. Nobody wants to be a criminal. They don't grow up saying, oh, this is what I want to be. Now, granted, when their life gets so bad and they're cold and they're starving, sometimes jail feels like a good opportunity, and they might break the law to get put in jail. But I'm not talking about that. Nobody wants to be on this. Honestly, I just don't believe people want to be on the side of hurting people where they are ostracized and they don't have relationships and nobody wants to be with them, and they're acting out of pain. So if we can build our one of the things I always did when I was a therapist was, and still even as pastor on call I did too, is I felt like God called me to ask in prayer to see someone through his eyes. And so when a couple or someone's having conflict, that's what I always ask them. I tell them, pray that, or I'll pray it over them, is ask God to see your spouse like he sees your spouse. And I'm telling you, that's one thing that's helped me a lot to have more grace for others. Another thing that's helped me have more grace, another encounter I had, this when I was a student in ministry school, and I was having these kind of subtle critical thoughts I didn't even know I had. I mean, they were just so like looking at somebody and, they dressed crazy, and just something a little judgmental in my head that I just didn't even think is a wrong thought. And God just showed up and started talking to me, and he ran me through this little thing. And I remember George Bush must have been president at the time, President Bush, and the younger one. And I remember him saying to me, if George Bush's twins walked in the door right now, how would you treat them? And then I think he said Elvis Presley. I'm not sure. I can't remember now. Some celebrity. He's like, what if their child walked in the door right now, a celebrity's child? How would you treat them? And then he said to me, all of these are my children.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you that I will say I've lost that from time to time for sure, moments. But when I come back and remember and center myself, I don't want to harbor. I mean, God can hear our thoughts and see them, right? And these are his kids. And if God has grace, we know he has grace for us, right? So that leaves us without excuse. But when I think about that God is aware of the thoughts I'm thinking towards someone, and if he's feeling grace toward them because he understands their background and where they've been and what's fueling that pain, then who am I? I mean, oh my gosh, who am I to harbor a thought against his kid? So that's just been some things that really helped me. I don't even know how. Sorry, that was probably a rabbit trail.
I just kind of think it also points that we need to give ourselves grace for having made mistakes,
Absolutely.
I have that in my book too. I just just talking about life in general or family relationships or wishing you would have done something different. We have to ask ourselves, did we do the best we knew with what we had to work with? Like, did we do our best with what we knew at that point? And our answer has to be yes. It has to be yes. And we just keep ourselves open to truth and God's justice and his wisdom and his words. And, and continue to do the best that we know how and continue to give ourselves grace because we're going to continue to make some mistakes.
It's true. And I would say I'm one of those, I love how Pastor Bill says when he gets introspective, it's kind of like navel gazing and it just goes down in this dark black hole, because I so relate to that. Never comes to any good. And I can get caught on that trap. Did I do my best? Did I do my best? Especially as a parent. Oh, did I do my best? And I come from, I'm in a second marriage, wonderful, amazing, 20 years now, but my first marriage really difficult. And I look back and I'm like, did I do my best? And you can beat yourself up all day long. And I would just say to anybody listening here, just stop it. Just stop it. Don't even go there. Just say to yourself, I did my best when I was there. And just put that label on it and go forward.
Yes.
Because I feel like, if nothing else, the blood of Jesus covered it, because he knows we have shortcomings. And I just believe so much. I'm sorry, I just talk as things hit my heart, so pull me back in. But, one of the things, because I'm one of those people that can really beat up on myself. I can just get lost in a world of beating up on myself, and it never comes to any peace until I get in God's face and his presence, and he reminds me. But, oh my gosh, I'm feeling emotion come up with this, because really even pretty recently, thinking about Jesus died. He died. He died so I would not carry that burden. So when I think about that and I'm chewing myself up and running with regret and running with past stuff, I'm like, Jesus died because he needs me fresh and new starting today. He needs me not carrying that old garbage. That's where he needs me to be. And he paid a price for me to be there. And so when I drag that stuff around, I'm like, I'm shortchanging what he paid such a huge price for. I just have to stop. I just have to stop and say, he gave me a clean slate. He gives me a clean slate every day so that I can be about and be who he needs me to be. You know, if nothing else, in my area now around a lot of health stuff, I've been learning about how much stress affects our health. Huge impact on our health. And I think God wanted to rid us of all that stress just because he wants us to be healthy. When we're sick, our whole life gets revolved around taking care of our health or someone we love's health in our world. And I think God did so much to give us a clean slate, to let go of stress, because it's the body he made and gave us, and it's the body he made that is affected by stress, and he's wanting us to not carry that. And when I walk myself back through that and really get that, then it's not a matter of working through my past. It's a matter of let go, cut that ball and chain off. If I've reattached it, cut it off again. Because today he needs me, and he paid the price for me to be here and free and go after it new today. And man, we should be giving that to everybody else as well. Boundaries, we might need boundaries,
Yeah.
but we should be giving everybody the opportunity to have a new day.
Oh, that's so good. And he gives us the strength to do it. His wisdom is accessible. We can do more than he did while he was ministering on earth. You know, it's just like, what? It's an exciting adventure that we can step into. And, you know, perhaps there's a season where he's equipping us, and there will be a day that all at the end suddenly happens where we're released into something, or we've been groomed to be a point of light around the world. Really, I mean, we need to rise and shine because our light has come. And where are we in the world where we can release that light? There's something so intentional about what he's given us. And I love that, Leslie. We need to grab a hold of the tools that can release us from any stress and anxiety. And what do you think? You know, one of those tools I would think would be to declare the promises of God. What is the truth? You know, but what else would you think?
That is a huge one. That's a huge one. But then I also know that if you're in a place that's bound up in stress and you don't feel like you're seeing God show up and you don't feel like you have an answer, recounting the promises don't always work, because your mindset is going, where are you, God? Like, are these promises even true? Are these promises for me? I've been there, so I totally get it. Are they good to feed on? They totally are. But can they add fuel to the fire of your messed up thoughts? They totally can. I think probably coming back to gratitude and Thanksgiving. You know, I don't know. I think you were already gone from Pastor on Call when God gave me those words, and we shifted everything in Pastor on Call to where when people called in with their prayer requests, short of one or two that, like, I remember one woman had just found out the baby in her womb was dead. Mm-hmm. So everything within us said, this is a different moment of ministry. But most of the people who called in with prayer requests and stuff, God gave me a model of taking them to a place that said, where do you see God right now? What do you see he is doing? I hear the wondering where he is and where you feel like he's not, but where can you see he is? And some people could go right to that, but some people got really stuck, and we'd help them. You know, did you have breakfast? Did you sleep in a bed? Did you have a roof over your head? And then people would start going. Yeah. And the model that he gave me that applies for each of us to individually do as well. You know, there's that verse, I'm always butchering where it is in Psalms. Is it Psalms 100? I always butcher where it is. Somewhere between 100 and 105. I'm so terrible with memory work. But he talks about entering his gates with thanksgiving, his courts with praise, or the other way around. Oh my gosh, I keep trying to memorize it and I forget. Yeah. But the idea being thanksgiving and praise are what takes us into the presence of God. And what he showed us is if we would walk people through thanksgiving and praise, then his presence would come and he would minister to them instead of us trying to minister to them on the phone. And
we were there
oh,
when
you were?
introduced
Okay.
that. Yeah, that was just awesome. It changed everything.
It changes
It brought people
everything.
into a position of faith and trust and hope. And something changed where they were ready to receive what he wanted to give.
It allows his presence to just fully come. And I know there's going to be people listening to this that have never felt his presence, and that can even be more exasperating. But I think I think of two things. One is putting your heart into a place of gratitude and thanksgiving and praise. So Thanksgiving is about thank you for this, thank you for that, thank you for this meal, thank you for my home, my bed, my family. Praise is about who he is. So praising him as the creator, praising him as the God of love, praising him as our savior, whatever someone's heart feels is praising him. That's the difference in those two as I understand it. Those are the two things that if you walk yourself into that place and you keep yourself there, I think that you will start experiencing a different relationship with God. Everybody's on a different timetable and it looks different with everybody. The other thing, and this can be really tough for people in a bad place too, but I really believe staying in the Word, even if it's a devotional book, there's some great ones out there that just have a scripture a day. God will use anything. He will use anything. And keeping the Word in our life, I know sometimes I can get into the Gospels and just think, where Jesus said, you need to do this and you need to do that. And if you do this, you better to be tied in a millstone, or cut your arm off or whatever. And I'm just like, I'm such a failure. And of course, later I learned, that was all about learning that we need a savior. We can't do things without Jesus' grace and coverage. But you literally can get in the Word, and if you're in a bad state, you can make it worse. But I do feel like it's an open door to allow God to come in and speak to you where you are. And so praise and thanksgiving and being in the Word, even if it's little nibble bites, those are to me the ticket, the keys, the gateway to a better, I forget your original question, but a better place to hearing from God and connected to God.
One of the things that Rick and I were talking about earlier today was Abraham too, where God told Abraham to go. And Abraham's saying, well, where are we going? And he goes, just start to go and I'll let you know later. And it was like such a huge act of faith for Abraham to leave his homeland and not know where he was going. I mean, and that's how I'm feeling right now. Rick and I have kind of been in that place for several years, and we want to respond to what God is doing. We are willing to go. We want him to know that. But there's that uncertainty, that thing ahead that you just, that's faith, that's trust. And it's hard in a time like this. I think probably a lot of people are in that right now with the economic downturn, just not knowing, uncertain of what the future is. And so thank you for your words. I think those were really, you've got your pastor hat on too. You're a pastor as well with Bethel, aren't you?
It's never left. Can I jump on what you just said? Because that just raised something in me. I got to say this just to get my own self excited. I love that you brought up Abraham. Oh my gosh, that just spoke to me when you did, because here's what struck me. That was not a one-time decision on Abraham's part. He didn't just decide, okay, I'm going to go. That was day by day. Not that the decision to leave wasn't maybe a one-time thing, but I'm saying the doubts and what are we doing, God, and those conversations that you and I both had a lot with God are a continual thing. And if there's anything I think I'm about right now, well, there's several things, but one of the things that just gets me passionately excited, because it, again, just an encounter with the Lord, but I want to be an Abraham. I'm exactly in the same place you are, in that God invited me to leave Bethel at this invitation of come and go with me. I want to take you to this really exciting place, undefined, but it was very clear. Come and go with me, but you have to leave that to go here. And so I was like, okay, I'm all in. Completely unexpected, wasn't expecting it. Things were great at work. And I left, but I didn't know what I was leaving for. And honestly, it's still defining itself. And so I've had a lot of those conversations. And with you just sharing that story, the message that gets me excited is, and I want to challenge everybody with, is who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? We get to choose that. And with you saying that right now to me, I'm like, I want to be like Abraham. Okay, God, you called me out several years ago. I don't know what for, but I want to be like Abraham. I want to be faithful and never doubt you, never anything. It's like, God, I'm on your timetable. You're a good God. You're a faithful God. And I'm just going to stand on that. And you're just sharing that simple story today, just like, whoa, gave me this, thing to like, yes. And
So good.
where it started for me was about 6 months ago when my husband lost his job. And, I mean, we're like nearing retirement age, right? And he was making a great income, had really worked himself up in his profession, worked and actually moved out into a real specialty, which now has come back to bite us a little bit because he's worked in such a specialized area for the last 12 years. But boom, the company he was working for decided to declare bankruptcy. And God called me out of my job, right? And my home business, my network marketing company I'm in, I just kind of have shifted gears to where I'm kind of rebuilding in another company. And so it's like, oh my gosh, like, God, you totally knew this was going to happen. I know my paycheck at Bethel would be so nice right now. I totally know you knew, you timed this, you called me out for a reason. And so after about 2 weeks of being in shock and scared and so many things you have to take care of, like you got to stop all your automatic payments to anything, there's so many things you have to take care of. And the panic and the, and then 2 weeks in, I'm 62 and I thought, I am 62 years old. You have taken care of me. I've gone through some crazy, terrible, rough stuff. I hope I don't have to go through again. But you've been with me through all of it. You've been faithful. You keep bringing me out to a good place. You have never left me. Why am I going to do this game again of, oh my goodness, oh no, where are you, God? What's happening? I'm like, that's not who I want to be anymore. I'm 62. I don't even know. I mean, when you get our age, you start realizing life is shortening down. And I'm like, I might not have another crisis to decide I'm going to walk in faith. I might not. This crisis, Tom or me or one of us, but hopefully both of us, will come into a better economic place and it won't be an issue anymore. And there might not be another one. And so I have right now to give the gift of who I want to be to God. And I'm without excuse. And I made the decision, I'm going to trust you 100%. I have moments. Yes, I have moments. But thank you for that picture of Abraham. Because we just need to choose. We have the ability and the choice. Doesn't matter what's happened to you. It doesn't matter if you're sick or your loved one's sick or you've lost your job or nothing is right. You're trapped in a bad marriage. Doesn't matter what is happening to you. We get to choose who we're going to be before God, not before anybody else. I'm not talking about any place else, just before God. Who are we choosing to be? And man, just that one exercise and decision can change your whole life and change the stance of your thoughts and yeah, just everything. So thank you, Golly. That was an awesome word.
I was in that same place just recently too. I'm thinking, like, I'm 69 now, and it's so amazing to me that I'm that. And I just think, so many things have happened to us, and we've survived, and we've moved forward, and we've trusted God. He's brought us into a good place, and I think Rick and I both feel that we have no regrets. Everything that's happened to us, there's been good things that have come from us. That Romans 8:28 promise has been really true for us. And so I was like that too. I'm not going to go back there. I don't want to be anxious or fretful or feel this doom feeling that I've felt very often in my life. And no more. He's always taking care of us. We'll be okay no matter what, So it's going to be okay.
That's right. And it's not just us, families of the world. If you look across the world, people have things happen to them, but people come through it. Now, do people lose their lives? Yes, they do.
Yes.
And not everything looks to have a happy ending. But people, if you look at disease, poverty, plagues, politics, war, all these things. People come through it. We always have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like that in the moment, but just holding on and trusting. I don't want to make it sound overly easy for someone that's in, you know,
It's
a
been
really tough
hard
place
to-
right now.
Mhm.
But even in the toughest of places, we get to choose, who are we as a daughter or a son? Who do we want to be before God? And
I love that. I
it's
love
really
that. We
powerful.
get to choose that. That's up to us. So, well, we kind of got on a wonderful tangent. I wanted you to just talk a little bit about what you're doing now. You mentioned a new business that you're starting, and then end with, if you would, a prayer for us and a blessing, and maybe talk a little. You can actually post on the Facebook page, the group page, a link to your website, whatever you want to do there.
Okay.
We'd love to know more about what you're doing and what you offer, and just have people connect with you. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, thanks for that. It's evolving. So all of it pretty much comes out of words I've had, encounters I've had with the Lord, some of them long time, that this period of hunkering down has kind of given me the time to really work on them. But I kind of have, I want to say 3 projects that I'm kind of working on. One of them, the Lord told me some time ago, back when I was editing, you know, when we used to both edit, and the Lord told me to quit editing and start writing. And then somewhere around that same time, he told me that I was very interested in what he was saying to other people. And I was just reading other people's books and words, whatever. And he said, you need to quit being so obsessed with what I'm saying to other people and start sharing what I'm saying to you. And so that's a word I've carried around. I think I have lived that out on the one-on-one, but not more in a writing. So one of the big projects I'm working on right now, I don't have a web page for it right now. I'm not even sure I'll have a web page. I think I'm just going to have a Leslie Parker Taylor web page is what I think I'm going to do. But I'm putting together kind of a module, 8-week course. It'll be expensive. It won't be for everybody, but a combination of kind of the biggest life lessons that I feel like I've learned as a marriage and family therapist and a police officer and a pastor, all that wealth of variety of experience working with people one-on-one through all that. I'm trying to condense that down into kind of 8 powerful lessons. And there'll be more than just the modules as far as people walking with me through that and all, but that's one big project I'm working on, and it's a monster.
Yes.
To manage it. The other one is I just created a business that we actually have up and running, but we haven't advertised or anything, and it's called alisteningfriend.com. And it's just a listening service. And it's a service that, I mean, I bought this URL several years ago. Wish I had it up in place before COVID happened, but it's a service. It's not counseling. It's not coaching. It's not advice giving. It's not consulting. It is strictly someone on the other end of the phone that listens. And I mean, you know, there's interaction, however that person wants it, but it's meant for a couple of variety of things. One is for people who want to process out loud, maybe an idea, or they're getting ready to make a proposal, maybe a speech, and they just need an audience. That could be one. For people who like to brainstorm and process out loud, but they need a confidential place to do that, it can provide that. Mm-hmm. For people who just need someone to talk to, like I ran into this when I was a therapist, people just wanted to come and see me as a therapist because they didn't want to exhaust their coworkers or their sister or their neighbor just because of the level of how much they needed to talk about what was going on in their lives. Good. And then the other one, and this was actually the original idea, was for people who have income, disposable income, but they've got like an older parent that's in a retirement home or a nursing home or something, and they're not feeling like they're giving them all the love and attention they want, but maybe possibly they might feel like they would love to gift their parent, their grandparent, whatever, an hour, say a week, of someone that just will talk on the phone and listen to them. So a variety of needs, but alisteningfriend.com, that if you go to that right now, it'll just take you right to our scheduling page. It's just me and one other friend as we kind of beta test this. But my joy there is that I hope it's going to be real select at first, wanting to bring people on board that actually helps the listeners create income. That's my dream, is to bring women or men too that need some income and they're really good listeners, really high integrity, that I can bring them on and actually be a source of income for them with this. And then the final thing, I've been involved with network marketing for a long time. been a lot of health and wellness products. The company I'm involved with now has a lot of helping people get their finances figured out and straightened out. And they actually offer a lot to people at no charge whatsoever, which totally excites me, because we didn't talk about this today, but I had a huge encounter with the Lord about him wanting me to help his people get money.
Yes.
And so that was really a big piece of directing me into the business world. And it's a huge motivator for me in the businesses I'm in, is helping people, their lives to be better, but also never losing that focus that God's people need money, period. They need money, whether it's for their bills or whether it's for their dreams. Or maybe it's to put them in a place of influence. So I'm after that. I had this huge God encounter. I think you know this too, crazy, because I'm not a big money person. So God's totally had to take me through many encounters. Now I'm a big money person, really believe in the value of money. But my company brought in CBD, and I was like, oh no, I'm a former law enforcement, can't be doing anything with that. And I had this huge God encounter where he, in my ear, said, this is from me, and I want you to use your influence in sharing this. Totally turned me around. Now I'm a huge CBD fan, have my particular kind that I really like, but I felt like God really felt like there was natural healing involved there, and that people like me, exactly like me, would be resistant to trying it. And he wanted to use me as a voice in the conservative Christian law enforcement world to say, no, actually, there is a large world out there we don't want to be a part of, but that's not what this is. This is a really good place that's a gift from God. And so those are my worlds right now, and I'm kind of juggling them. I'm in love with all of them, looking at different ways. My passion underneath is always, how can I help people make money in this? So yeah, that's a quick summary of a lot of plates spinning and ideas reeling in my world. Thanks for asking about that.
Well, be sure to post how people can get in touch with you if they have a question for you or want to find out. So, well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for doing this. Would you close us with a word?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah. Ooh, so let me just sit here for a minute. Chris, God has called me to be a person of peace, and to release peace, and to pray for peace. And it's been a gift for me because there's so much to pray for. And I feel like God, even in this moment, calls me back to the place of saying, I want you to release peace. And so, as simple as that is, I even questioned God at one point because it was so simple, right? It's like, seems like I should have a higher calling on that than that. But I just release peace to everyone who might be listening to this, no matter where they are. Peace into the deepest recesses of their heart. Peace over their mind. I release peace in their marriages and in their families. I release peace over their children. I release peace over their dreams that they haven't seen yet. The dreams that are starting to feel empty and hopeless. I release peace over everyone's body. That the systems in their body, the cells, the tissues, every part of their body would come to peace. I call for peace in the workplace. I call for peace over people's bank accounts and pocketbooks. I call for peace over people's job situations. I call for peace in every board meeting, every group of leaders. I pray for peace. I release peace over our schools, over every educational system. Lord, I release peace over our cities and our communities. I release peace over our country. Lord, we've spoken of different things that are troubling and concerning, so many things happening both in our country and around the world. And in the name of your Son, Jesus, we just speak peace into each one of those. And God, I just declare that with you, nothing is impossible. And I just speak out loud what you have shown me, that it's not foolish to speak a dream of peace over the whole world, because it's what's in your heart and your desire. God, I release peace on the end of our hands, that everything we set our hands to will give peace. I speak peace, Lord, over our mouths and over our words. And God, we just invite you to come in. I just invite you to come in and rest in the hearts of each one of us, that our hearts would be full of peace, and that wherever we go, we'd be purveyors of peace. And Lord, I would ask for anywhere there's not been peace, whatever the cause, whatever the responsibility, wherever there's not been peace, God, I ask for you to come and restore and replenish more than was lost. God, I thank you that you are a God of peace. And I thank you that Jesus even shared with us being a peace in the storm, and that we can speak to the storms. And Lord, today I just speak to the storms in each person's life that's listening to this, and I say, peace, be still. In Jesus' name, amen.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much.
I love you, friend.
Okay, I guess that's it. Love you, Leslie. Thank you so much. We all appreciate you so much. And for those that are listening and are going to be listening, please stay tuned. We're going to have more summit talks with some of your favorite friends, and we're looking forward to those. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Week. Yes. All right. Thanks, Leslie. Have a great day there in Reading. Love you.
Bye. Thanks. You too. Love you too. Bye-bye.